we went on the trip. We were in Australia about a week. Of our 3 weeks, we had about a week. And we did Sydney for 2 or 3 days. Then we went to Canberra, the capital, for a day or so to meet the legislature and the prime minister, probably prime minister. But and then of course we got to go to their war college, their academy. We got to see the military thing, yeah. And then we went to North Port, was Darwin. We got to see some of their development up there. So we were in 3 places in Australia for about a week. But we had 1 or 2 free days. And when most of my people did stuff in Sydney, I just took and rented a car. I tried to get somebody to go with me. I couldn't get him to go with me. But I went back into the hills, about 50 or 60 miles where the mountains were, just kind of like back of San Diego. And then I got back where the people were. And I spent a whole afternoon and evening there with them. I really enjoyed that. Because that was really going back from the city.
Yeah, but you don't go to bars.
I didn't go to bars. I just went back there, ate dinner. Mom and I had this capability early on, and the thing to find a place to eat is to go to the local people and say, "Where do you eat?" And that it always worked. And there, I just loved that. Of course, these people speak English. That was a nice thing. You could go by yourself. Now, when I got to Japan, my guys all went. They were having a World Fair, no, not a World Fair, Olympics or something going on when we were in. Maybe it was a World Fair. I don't remember what, but it was in another city about 80 miles away, and all my guys on that trip took the train and went to this fair. I went around Tokyo, and as I was going around Tokyo, I ran into a guy early on, asked if he could join me to practice his English. So I spent all day, this guy just showed me Tokyo. In fact, one of the things we did, we went to the palace, and he said, well, now they allow visitors in here. The local people can't go there. And I said, well, could I get in there? He said, you might be able to. And I said, if I go, can you go? He said, well, I might be able to. So we went around back in the garden and found out that they had a capability of allowing 10 people in at one time. I said, can he and I get in there? And they said, well, we get 2 people coming out. About that time, 2 people came out. And they let us go in the palace gardens.
Wow.
And this kid, he just was elated. He said, I never got in the castle palace before. And just because he was with me.
Yeah.
As I told the person there, I said, I don't speak any English, any Japanese. I need this guy to help me know what's going on. So they let him in.
Yeah, you're an interpreter.
Yeah. So I had a wonderful day. I got on and off their subways just packed. It was just, you could hardly get on the car. The door would be closed. How packed it was. But I had a great day that day. And when my guys got back from the World Fair or wherever they went, they said they had a great day. But I said, I bet you didn't have as good a day as I did. And then when they heard me tell about all that stuff I did, they really loved that. And we had some events at night, dinner parties, and we met all the top military people and the dignitaries, State Department people. We met a lot of top people at these dinner parties at night. Almost every country was a little bit different, but we got to see the top people, and they spoke English, so we could find out what their problems were and what things they thought they were best at, stuff. You know, it was a great trip.
And you were in Hong Kong for one day?
Probably 2 days. We got there in the afternoon. We had an event that night. The next day, I went over to Hong Kong itself. I went on their little cheap ferry. You know, you could have the high-priced ferry that cost you a nickel, and if you didn't have the cheap ferry, it was a penny, or whatever. But anyway, this is the one on this whole trip. I carried a umbrella. We never had rain on us in the whole trip. And the guys used to say, "This is our hero." I carried an umbrella all the time, and he kept the rain away. And of course, we had this C-141, which was a big, huge transport plane. We could buy anything we wanted and bring it home. And I brought those brass lamps and the lamp over there and these two lamps and
A lot of jewelry.
A lot of jewelry for Mom and
Silk
ring
robes
and pearls and some robes. That's right. And the cover for the table, the navy cover, the knit cover. And I brought a lot of stuff. We had in this airplane when we went from one place to the other. We had a table, and it was kind of like we had tables set up so we could be studying about the next place. And we had 4 people at the table. It was right up against the side of the airplane, and it was kind of like booths, like booths in a restaurant. But it was a big table, and we could study about the next place. And as we were flying to it and so forth, we'd review what our events were. And there were 4 different trips. They all went at the same time. One went to Europe, one went to Israel and Egypt and so forth. Another one went to, one stayed in the United States. They did the tour of the United States. And then we had the one in Southeast Asia. No, I just happened to decide I would do a paper that I would probably get a chance to see what I learned. I had that thought out. I asked the guy, if I'm going to go on this trip, if I did a paper on that, wouldn't that be good? That'd help me learn about where I'm going to go visit and so forth. It really was. It was a good idea. I usually thought things out. I liked what I saw in Australia. They were a little bit laid back. Namir is eager to do stuff. Not that they weren't hard workers. I think they were hard workers. I mean,
is that the war? Was that like a war college plane?
Oh yeah.
Does it belong to the war
college? No, it was an
college?
Air Force plane. They gave to us, and we had it for our 3 or 4 weeks. It belonged to us.
Okay.
And it was.
The plane was outfitted for this trip.
This trip, absolutely. The tables on it and so forth were just to take care of these. No, we refueled and we had a day in Honolulu where we met the pack area and so forth, the big Navy and the people in Hawaii. Then we flew to Sydney. But then we went to Sydney, then we went to Canberra, then we went to Darwin, then we went to Thailand, then we went to Philippines, then we went to Hong Kong, then we went to Korea, then we went to Japan, then we went to Alaska, then we went home. Great trip, absolutely unbelievable trip.
Yeah. So in each one of these places, you're visiting the uppity ups of the government.
That's right. The government, the top government, and you learn about that country.
That was worth the price of admission right there, huh?
Absolutely, absolutely. There's no question. Every one of those stops was just fabulous.
How much did you pay to go to the war college?
I didn't pay to go at all. I got the selected guy in my class.